Okay, welcome to the deep dive. We've got some source material here about a moment that's really etched in recent history. Still sparks debate, right?
Absolutely.
Decades later. And today we're sort of zeroing in on a specific theory, one from this material that, well, it challenges a really key piece of evidence from the O.J. Simpson trial.
That's right. We're unpacking claims from this source about those infamous gloves used in the trial.
So our mission for this deep dive, it's really to explore the source's suggestion, pretty intriguing, that those courtroom gloves might have been different from the originals found at the scene.
Yeah, and there's a detail in there, too, a fascinating one about a person potentially involved who might still be around.
Okay, so just to orient you quickly, this all centers on the tragic events of June 12th, 1994, the deaths of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman.
And O.J. Simpson's arrest and trial, of course. Remember, the criminal trial in '95 ended in acquittal,
Uh,
but then a later civil trial found him liable. Big difference there.
right. And this source material, it focuses on key evidence, these two gloves. One found at Nicole's condo, the other back at OJ's property on Rockingham.
And the source notes the blood evidence on them matched Nicole, Ron, and O.J. himself. These were supposedly gloves Nicole had bought for O.J. previously.
Okay, but the moment everyone remembers, right, it's that courtroom scene, OJ trying on the gloves.
Yeah, visually they they didn't seem to fit. Now, our source does point out some potential reasons for that, like maybe he had latex gloves underneath during the demo.
Or swelling, maybe from arthritis. The source mentions that too.
Right, possible explanations.
But that visual, wow, it was incredibly powerful. It led straight to, well, probably one of the most famous defense lines ever.
If it doesn't fit, you must acquit. Everyone knows that one.
Exactly.
But this is where the core theory from our source material really comes in. It actually puts forward the idea that the gloves O.J. tried on in court, they might not have been the original gloves.
Wait, not the originals. How does the source suggest that could happen?
Well, the theory, as it's laid out here, points to problems with the chain of custody. You know, the whole process of tracking evidence.
Right, documenting it, securing it from collection all the way to the courtroom.
Exactly. And the source suggests maybe there wasn't, like, continuous verifiable tracking. No constant video or photo logs for every step. And that gap, it could have created an opportunity.
An opportunity for what exactly?
For an unknown insider, this is the theory presented here, to potentially swap the original gloves. Swap them for smaller ones.
To create that doesn't fit moment deliberately.
That's the suggestion in the source material, specifically for that dramatic courtroom advantage.
So the source is implying the non-fit wasn't just latex or swelling, but maybe the gloves themselves were different, manipulated.
Precisely. That's the core of this specific theory. And here's a detail the source finds particularly striking. This theory apparently mentions a rumored LAPD technician, someone potentially involved in this alleged glove manipulation. Now, the source says the name is suppressed, kept quiet, but it gets referenced in, like, closed internal forums.
Wow.
And this person, according to the claims in this source material,
Oh,
is still alive.
still alive. Someone potentially linked to this whole alleged evidence switch theory. That's quite a claim.
It's definitely a compelling part of the source's narrative, yeah.
And makes you think about the civil trial outcome, too.
How so?
Well, unlike the criminal trial, which was so heavily influenced by, courtroom theatrics like the glove demo,
Right.
the civil court relied much more on just the forensic review, the detailed evidence, and that led to finding him liable. The source uses this contrast, basically, to highlight how performance versus evidence can give you totally different results.
That makes sense. And the material even touches on modern tools, doesn't it? Yeah, it mentions things like, imagine if you could do detailed 3D scanning of the actual gloves today, or use AI to analyze old video footage. Could that offer new perspectives? It's hypothetical, of course. Revisiting the evidence like that isn't simple.
But it makes you think, yeah, how our view of historical events can shift when new theories or angles, like this one presented in the source, come to light.
Definitely makes you consider the details.
Okay, so let's sum up this deep dive based purely on the source material we looked at. We've explored this specific theory. The idea that the famous OJ trial gloves might have been swapped.
And possibly by someone connected to the LAPD who, this source claims, might still be alive today.
Yeah, and just to reiterate for you listening, this exploration was driven solely by the specific claims and theories presented within the source material we had for this deep dive. We're just unpacking what's in there.
Exactly.
And maybe it leaves you with a thought. drawing from the bigger questions this source raises. How much can one big theatrical moment in court overshadow complex evidence?
And what happens when, as the source seems to suggest, truth waits? What if individuals potentially connected to key evidence from such a defining moment? What if they really are still out there? Something to ponder.